This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi everybody, I'm Bob Akamian along with the coach. Welcome to Pac-10 basketball, Oregon State style, on the Jimmy Anderson Show. We are into the conference season, and you couldn't pick a tougher road trip to start off conference play with going down to Los Angeles this past week. Not only UCLA, we know how good they are, number 5, 6 in the country, and now Southern Cal is bringing it together with that young height and team speed, and that was quite a battle, those two games.
Well, it's always difficult, Bob, as you know, to go down to Los Angeles and play. Especially difficult when both teams actually are very, very hard and difficult to beat. They have great home court advantages, especially at Pauley Pavilion. But George Raveling has done an excellent job coaching at USC, and his recruiting class was rated one of the tops in the country. So he's loaded with experience with Boyd and Orr and Harris. And he has all these young players that are great athletes coming off the bench. So our first opponent wasn't easy, and our second opponent is certainly deserving of the 6th ranking. They're one of the top teams in the country, and I believe they're going to climb in the rating. Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me at all. UCLA off to a very good start. Still perfect after 1 week of conference play. Let's start out with Southern Cal, though, the Thursday night game at the Sports Arena. Playing the Trojans, this is a team that the Beavers have done well against on the road before, but they have added, again, some team speed, and their big men have just gotten better. You start off right away with some good quickness out of Stephen Brown, but their speed on the front line makes a big difference.
Well, their physical strength really hurts us on the inside, and when the game is finally over, it shows on the scoreboard and in stats that they had 25 offensive rebounds, and that certainly was the big difference in the game.
Now you got to look at Lorenzo Orr there, who has had a career against Oregon State going back to his sophomore year. Kareem Anderson down at the other end drives to the hoop. Early on in the game, SC will bust out to an 11-6 lead. David Drakeford now will drive in for the layup with an assist from Jerron Brown, beating some full court pressure. And now at the other end, though, you got to slow these guys down, and it was tough to stop them. The defense really struggled against their quickness.
Well, they tried to press us, and they tried to do some unorthodox things on defense, and we went through them actually quite easily on full court pressure. But when they got to the half court and they started to power the ball on the inside, we really had a very difficult time.
Nice block by Brent Berry early on, shuts down Martin. And now on the offensive end, David Drakeford for 3. Bingo. David's been giving you some good minutes out there with J.D. Vetter.
Yeah, and this was a special trip for him because he's from the Los Angeles area, from Mater Dei High School, and he was there, and he was greeted by all his friends and family, so he had a good series.
Jelani Boleen with the layup, and now Kareem for a three-pointer, and you're keeping it close on him, cutting it down to 4 as you're in the closing stages of the first half.
Well, we got behind early, as you know, and getting behind on the road against a quality team is very difficult to recover. And we brought it back to 4 points. We had a couple chances. They got some boards, a couple calls went against us, and all of a sudden the game was over and they had the victory.
Harris with the runner put it back to a 12-point game at halftime. Now we get into the second half and convert a couple of turnovers into baskets. And when it comes to steals, Brent Berry's the guy. He's right up there in the Pac-10 leaders.
Well, Brent's having a fine year for us. We have him playing out of position a little bit, which makes it difficult. Last year he was our point guard, and this year he's our power forward, so that's a pretty drastic change. We're so small and unmanned on the inside, we have to use as much height as we can. And with the injuries we've had, he's kind of the choice and the biggest that we have.
And Brent has responded. He's up there. I think he's your 3rd leading rebounder right now. He's getting the steals, and those long arms do cut down on the passing lanes.
Well, he's very adept because of these long arms, and he has good anticipation, and he's done a very fine job for us. He's also cut down on his turnovers, which has been a big help. He's one of our leaders in assists, he and Stephen Brown, so I think Brent is having a very fine season.
Well, Orr and Boyd both getting to the inside extend the SC lead up to about 19 points. If he didn't get down the stretch here, and a good run in the final 4 minutes, and it was both of the Browns getting to work, and another turnover, Drakeford, and you cut it down now to as little as 3 points in the final 30 seconds of the game.
Well, Stephen Brown had a great second half for us. Here he is with the ball, and He's penetrating. He gets hit there pretty hard, but it still goes in. He has 23 points in the second half, so his effort alone brought us back into to have a chance at the win.
Kareem hits the three, and that gets it close, but SC does convert the free throws in the final seconds, and there's your final score, 82-76. The Trojans win by 7. You look at the numbers, statistically, you look at this and you think, wait a minute, don't we win this game? The rebounds, maybe the most glaring number, but all the way around you played with them, and again, their front line made the difference.
Well, what you can't see on there, in their 44 rebounds, 25 of them were offensive rebounds, and that gives them second efforts, and that hurt us.
And Lorenzo Orr, you see there, the tops for SC. Again, he's played well against Oregon State going back 2 and 3 years to when he was a sophomore, 21 points and 10 rebounds, tops for Lorenzo. So you get in there, play a good competitive game, and that sets you up at least for Saturday against UCLA.
Well, we come out of it with the loss, but we're still not feeling bad about ourselves because we felt we came back. We worked hard, and we got ourselves back into a possible win. And now all of a sudden it's a Friday, and we got to get ready for UCLA, and we know this is going to be a big task. 6th ranked in the country with some excellent athletes.
Brent Barry will join us later on the show. Coming up next, we'll take a look at highlights of the Bruin game from Saturday in Los Angeles. Stay with us as the Jimmy Anderson Show continues. Well, what better place is there to be on a Saturday afternoon than Pauley Pavilion in Westwood, California, to watch the tradition of UCLA Bruin basketball. It's a great place to be if you're not the visiting team. Unfortunately, the Beavers were in that position on Saturday, and the Bruins were handing out a licking that day.
Well, I think they had something to prove. I guess the night before against Oregon, they didn't play too well. Even some of the fans were booing and getting after them a little bit for poor play, and so I know that Herrick used that to his advantage. We had a feeling we were catching them at the wrong time. We got a relatively good start, but as the game went on, they just ran right past us.
Well, no surprise, at least to me, that the Bruins are on top of the Pac-10 right now. They were my favorite going into the season. Let's take a look at the highlights from Saturday afternoon. The Beavers indeed jumped out to an early 7-4 lead. Jerron Brown, Brent Barry, David Drakeford get things started.
Well, we tried to, control their offense with our offense, and not let them get into a game of running up and down the court, because that's where they blister people. So we started out controlling tempo with our offense and not getting in a running game, and then all of a sudden a few turnovers, poor pickup on our part, and they had a commanding lead.
And it's the O'Bannon brothers, and we're going to see both of them here right off the bat. Charles and then Ed. Charles off the fast break.
Well, they made some fine shots here in the early going, but as things wore on, we just didn't control them. We didn't get back and get our defense set, and all of a sudden they were hitting the backboards off easy shots, and they pretty much dominated. The first half was actually the story of the game.
Now this little guy, Tynas Edney, who we've seen coming off the bench for a couple of years, he is really stepping up this year, and he made some nice passes, and he can also light it up from the outside and get the rebounds, as we see there.
Well, he had his career best in scoring and in rebounding and assists, so he had probably one of those games you dream about. We didn't do a very good job defending him. We didn't stay in front of him. We didn't contain some of the things that he does well, and I think the next time we'll be better prepared.
UCLA out to a 25-point lead at this point in the first half, and you get a chance to get back into it a little bit before halftime. Jerron Brown, Brent Berry off a nice dish here from David Drakeford.
Well, they had two big runs on us. They had a run of 15 points and we scored nothing. They had another run in the first half of 13 points, and we didn't answer on either occasion. And as you know, in Pauley, against a quality team, you can't survive that.
Well, Charles now on a 7-0 run to start the second half, and Ed O'Bannon one here for the highlight reel. Very strong with one hand, and they've got the game in hand here, up by 30 points. Now let's take a look at some of the OSU action down the stretch. Stephan gets inside for a little quickie. Good job keeping the ball alive, and here comes Rudy. Mr. Rockland comes in for the tip.
Well, we in the second half decided to use a lot of the reserves because the game was pretty much out of control, and we needed to give some experience to some of the younger players. But I don't think, no matter who we played in this game, the way it went, we were pretty futile in all the things that we were trying to execute, and we just have to get better.
Another steal for Bones. Brent Berry takes it in, 3/4 court all the way for the slam. And we'll get a look at Tony Rockland again here, the walk-on, who's really earned some playing time this year.
Well, he's been steady for us. He doesn't turn out the large figures of pluses, but he doesn't do too many things wrong, so he's always in there trying to help. In this particular game, when you figure out, who had the assists and rebounds and scoring, we only had one player, Brent Berry, that really came up to snuff. So we cannot win in the Pac-10 if we do not get quality play out of 4 or 5 players each game.
And you've said that going in, especially the big three, when you count Kareem and you count Stephen Brown. You need those three every night.
Every night. Yeah, it's pressure on them, but good competitors like that challenge. They know that the quality of our performance is going to be on their backs, and they have to just rise to the occasion. We just don't have any other solutions, and those three are the ones that got to solve the problems.
Look at the numbers, and of course the rebounds. Again, a glaring number there, 43-16, the final. Individually, Brent on top with 18 points and 4 assists for the Beavers. Ed O'Bannon, 22 and 8, and Ty Edney with, again, a career best, 22 points and 8 assists. So that wraps up the weekend. One of those games easy to wash your hands of that and start focusing on the Ducks.
Well, it's easy to wash your hands of, but it's not easy to forget, because when you come away from games like that, you got some problems you got to solve. So what we're trying to do is get back and solve our own personal problems of what we need to do to improve so that we can get ready for Oregon.
Now, when we come back, we're going to meet with Brent Berry. He's our featured player of the week, and take a look at the past. Scott Haskin, a year ago, he's a Beaver, top center in the Pac-10. Now he's in the NBA. We'll catch up with Scott Haskin as the Jimmy Anderson Show continues. Our featured player this week needs no introduction, but since I get paid to do this, here's Brent Barry. Good to have you with us. I know with the position switch this year, your numbers have been down a little bit by your standards, but I know the team is happy with what you're doing every night. If anything, you'd probably like to do a little more if you could.
Well, Coach sees me as a leader out on the floor, and if there are nights where I'm out there to score, I'll try and score. But if I'm unable to do that, I'll be out there trying to distribute the ball, pass the ball up, get some rebounds and some steals, and do some other things out on the floor that are necessary for us to win ball games.
Jim, you switched him to the forward spot this year, and it takes some pressure off because he doesn't have to bring the ball down all the time, and it does free him up to do more of those things.
Well, not only that, we've had so many key injuries. We've had to shift around our personnel quite dramatically, and in all reality, Brent is probably a small forward, you'd have to say, at 6'6", 6'7", and that's his ideal position. But he's had to play point guard for us, and now what we call the power forward position. But he gives us a unique quality that he can help us on the inside with our ball handling. And we need a ball handler in the middle of our offense, and that's why he's been put there. He's also, it kind of seems funny to say, he's one of our tallest players and most active players, so he has the chore of doing a lot of defense on bigger people.
So if we had to describe you, you're probably a point forward right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I still consider myself a guard. In high school, playing with my little brother Drew, he was a point guard and I was the off guard, and I still think the off guard is my natural position. But due to personnel and, as Coach said, injury situations, I've been unable to play at that position and been moved down to the 4.
Hey, give us a little update on your basketball-playing brothers. Drew's still in school, and of course John's finally getting a little PT with the Bucks.
Yeah, I'll start with Drew. He's the youngest, and he's at Georgia Tech, and he's playing really well. Their team is, I think, 9-2 at this point, and they're playing some good basketball. Actually, 9-3. Milwaukee, John, he's doing okay. He's gotten some inconsistent minutes this year, and he's working hard in practice and hoping that he'll be able to contribute for them in the next couple of years. You know, the NBA career is it's a different type of thing. You don't really need to come in and produce right away. It's an investment for him. And my brother Scooter is playing with my father at Fort Wayne in Indiana. And my mom's doing well too, Bob, by the way.
Well, good, good. It's a lot of socks to wash at the
Yes.
end of the day, but she doesn't have to do that at least.
No, not anymore.
Tell me about this team right now. I know you've said going back into December that execution is the key, and it showed them a classic. When you execute properly, you give yourselves the opportunity to win. Do you still feel like that's out there?
Well, I definitely think that's out there. We just have to be disciplined. I think that's the key word. Coaching staff keeps bringing that up, and if we stay disciplined and focused on what we need to do, we're going to win games. We certainly don't have the personnel like a UCLA or an Arizona or a Cal, where you have a bunch of talented players who can go out there and, sure, if they have an off night, they can still win by 10 or 15 points. We have the type of team this year where we need to go out and everybody needs to execute the game plan that they are given, defensively and offensively, for us to have a chance to win ball games. And if that's not there, UCLA is a great example of what's going to happen to us this year.
All right, Brent Barry, thanks as always for sharing your time. Now it's time to take a look back at OSU basketball history. Don't look too far back, though. A year ago, Scott Haskin was rewriting the record book at the center position. Now he's a rookie riding the pines with the Indiana Pacers. He was a #1 draft choice, number 14 overall, and he's learning all about life in the NBA.
That's it's a big change, you know. Certainly one that takes adaptation. But you know, I'm patient. And it's actually, you know, the change is kind of nice, starting all over again, you know, because you get to a point in college where, you know, if you get 3 guys on you, there's not much you can do, you know, with that. And now you get here and you get a chance to, it's like, you know, kind of rebuild your skills and move on, in a sense. And so I'm very excited about it.
I know there was a point last year where you were saying you didn't feel like you were getting anything done because every night it was war underneath, and you almost never got clear shots at the basket, and you couldn't play your game.
Yeah, that and you know, the officiating, it just seemed like it was real bad. They wouldn't let us play, and when you got 3 guys on you, you got to have some room to move somebody off somewhere. And it was very frustrating for me last year. And so, you know, I'm just happy to be, you know, to have had the shot to, you know, in the postseason to play well for the scouts and whatnot. And that's, you know, what really did it, because during the season it was one frustration after another.
I know when you were drafted, you know, it was a great deal. I know Larry says great things about you, and there's fans back there saying, "Who's this Pac-10 guy? What's he doing here?" That had to be strange to go somewhere where Coach knows you, Coach loves you, and you got fans saying, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah, it was. You know, they'd never seen me play, or probably anybody from the Pac-10 play for that fact. It took them a while to warm up to me and me to them. You know, it's I'd be lying to say that it didn't bother me at first, you know, going there thinking that I had to perform for the fans. And you know, I tried not to let it get to me, but it does. You know, you're human, and you know, it took a while to kind of overcome that barrier. But once I did, you know, I was fine.
Quickly, the Larry Brown experience, working with a guy like that. He's renowned as the great teacher. What's he been like just working with you?
You know, he definitely is interested in teaching players. You know that, and it helps if the player wants to learn. Matter of fact, that's very essential in his system. He's tough. You know, he's probably the toughest coach I've ever played for. Demanding-wise, he demands perfection, and he won't settle for anything less. And he told us on the first day of training camp, he said, "Don't mind if I keep getting on you. It's only because I'm trying to make you perfect." And he just kind of laughed about it, kind of a little sarcasm there. But he's tough. But you know, he's a good coach. But he's tough to play for.
Well, he didn't say that you were the toughest coach he ever played for, so I guess Larry Brown is probably fitting on top of that. You talk to Scotty on a fairly regular basis. What kind of advice are you giving him this year?
Well, really, I'm not giving him too much advice. I'm just trying to check in on him, see if he's happy, how he's getting along. He knows what he needs to do because I think he's been well schooled. Myself, personally, that post position in the pros is a tough position to play. He has big guys to go against night in and night out. It's kind of unusual to see him in that uniform, that color. But I think he's going to do very well for him.
Yeah, I know. You know, we talked about having to face 3 guys every night in the Pac-10. Now it's just 1 guy, but it's usually a big, strong guy who'll push you all over the place, and now that's the adjustment he has to make.
Well, his adjustment is he has to get better so he gets more minutes. And right now he's getting a few minutes here and there, but in the pros you can't zone, so he has a chance to show his one-on-one ability in the professional ranks. So. It'll be interesting to see down the road. Here again, it's like Brent said, it's an investment. You don't expect it to do well the first year because you've got to learn the ropes and the traveling and the system. So it's down the road that we have to look and see how he does.
Yeah, you know, that's one thing about being a #1 draft choice is you're kind of given that 1 year. They don't necessarily expect a lot out of you. So proven time will come soon enough for Scott Haskins.
I think so. I think you're right.
When we come back, we will take a look ahead at this week's opponent. 1 game, but it's that big game, the Oregon Ducks on the road. We'll preview it when the Jimmy Anderson Show continues. Welcome back. Time for our scouting report. And this week's opponent, just 1 game, the old rivals, the Oregon Ducks, Saturday in Eugene. Assistant coach Andy McCloskey joins us right now. We know Coach Jerry Green at Oregon likes to do things in a very simple manner. They run some basic sets. We're going to look at one now.
That's right. What they do, they execute very well. They're trying to work a number of new players into their offense, and as a result, they are trying to be very simple. This is one of the plays that they really like, their box set. Basically, they have Orlando Williams and then Henry Madden or Jordy Lyden down here in the 3 spot, Potter and Johnson in the 4 and 5 spots, and Kenya Wilkins bringing the ball at the 1 guard spot. The 4s and 5s bounce out to the wings, and they go 1 to 5 here, and 2 will come up here to set a screen. 4 comes over. 1 and 4 exchange in this area right here, and what we've got to try to do on this play right here, where 1 is screening for 4, we'd like for our guy to force this play as far as possible. We're being in the orange there. We want to try to force this out as deep as possible. Then what happens on the second board here is 5 will go to 4, 4 will throw to 1, 2 has come up here to set a screen for 5 on the shuffle cut. Okay, what we're attempting to do is after 5's man gets rid of the ball, he wants to get on the side of the screen, beat his man so that the shuffle cut is not successful. After that, 4 will come down and set a screen for 2, and this is usually Orlando Williams, and he's very good at that. So 2's man helps here for 5 to get through, and then tags this and tries to make sure that this jump shot opportunity isn't available for Orlando. It's one of his favorite shots.
So here's your opponent profile of the Ducks. They're also 4 and 7, 0 and 2 in the conference. Jerry Green is in his 2nd year last week. Now the Ducks lose by narrower margins at UCLA USC. A lot will be made of that this week. Is there anything to be made of that, though, just the comparative scores?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that has too much to do with it. It's all individual with one team and another and how you perform. I think they felt they performed relatively well, so they feel good about themselves. We feel that we did not perform well, so we're in a stage of trying to regroup.
We go back now to the championship game of the Far West Classic, which the Beavers won 79-75. Brent Berry, the most valuable player, Stephen Brown, Kareem on the all-tournament team. Kenya Wilkins starting to step up in that guard spot along with Orlando Williams. The Ducks have a little bit of a size advantage, but it's their backcourt that can really kill you.
Well, they have good scoring from Williams on the board there. Also, Wilkins has done an excellent job handling pressure, penetrating, and scoring. So I think they have a well-balanced team. They have some aggressive players like Potter. So they're a team that you have to take serious, especially at MAC court. They can be very dangerous.
And Jerry Green has been fairly patient, and then he hasn't expected them to do a lot one-loss-wise, and they seem to be coming along, though, very gradually this year.
Well, I think he expects to win.
He wants to win right now, yeah.
But it's a lot harder than people think. This is not an easy situation. It's just like all the 4 Northwest schools, they go on the road. We come back 0 and 8. So the Northwest schools are licking their wounds. And so now we have to regroup and try to get a win on the road. Oregon wants to win. Then we get some home games so we can get back in the race. So it's a tough picture ahead for everybody.
And, of course, always a tough place to play. You did win down there last year.
We did win down there last year, and we're going to prepare ourselves to hope to get down there and get a win too, and they're going to try to prevent that. So I'm sure it's going to be a very aggressive game, and it'll be a tight game, I think.
Saturday afternoon, it'll be at the Pitt MAC Court in Eugene. Join us right here next week as we wrap it up and preview the home conference openers against the Washington schools on the Jimmy Anderson Show.
This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Akamian along with the coach. Welcome to Oregon State basketball on the Jimmy Anderson Show. It will be nice to be home this week for the Beavers. Washington State, first home conference games of the year following three rugged ones on the road, and I know it's always good to be home because you want to set things right after a loss on the road.
Well, I think we're the last team in the conference to get a home game, so playing the first three on the road, UCLA, SC, and Oregon, certainly wasn't an easy task, and we paid dearly for it.
Now, you can send the small children out of the room as we show you the highlights of the first half of the Oregon game. It's tough playing your rival on the road, but a game like that, you don't want to say you've slipped backwards a little bit, but there was a little soul-searching going on after that game.
Well, maybe they improved a little bit, and the fact that we had 2 losses on the road, came back, tried to regroup, went into Oregon, and they were ready for us, and we didn't meet their firepower with the same kind of enthusiasm. They took us out of the game in the first 5 minutes, and the rest is history.
This is the first meeting since the championship game of the Far West Classic. The Beavers won that encounter by 4. It was all Ducks in the early going at Mac Court, and Oregon was fast breaking early on, and they've got a new guy involved in their backcourt now for bigger minutes, Daryl Parker, and he really went after Stephen Brown early.
Well, he got into him on the full court and kind of pressed him a little bit, and Stephen kind of took the individual challenge on and probably made some bad decisions for us, but he's had some very brilliant games for us, and I'm sure he learned from this experience, and the next time, the third time, let's say it's going to be maybe the charm for us. It's at Gill.
That's right, the rubber match still to come this year. 3 different courts for these games. Beavers work the ball inside. Jerron Brown gets in there. Kareem Anderson, who's continued to play well over the past 3 weeks, drives for a basket. And despite Oregon's dominance in the first 10 minutes, you keep it close enough in the first half. There's Aaron Johnson from the outside. And Brent Berry, he gets in trouble with the fouls, and it was real hard to get him involved in the offense.
Well, he was stagnant because of foul trouble, and then also he only got up about 7 shots in the game, and we need to have him in double figure scoring and shooting, along with Kareem Anderson and Stephen Brown. They are our 3 mainstays. I think the freshmen, for their first game playing in this game, really came up front, and I would say Jerron Brown played very well, David Drakeforth, Jelani Boleen played well. So we had a lot of freshmen get their feet wet, and I'm sure they got a taste of the rivalry.
And they had to do it early. Brent went down midway through the first half with the 3rd foul. Kareem lights up a couple of 3-pointers and gets the offense in tune. This game was rough. We're going to look at a sequence here where it's just back and forth, a lot of contact. Nobody puts the ball in the hole, but this was a real battle from the first minute.
It was a physical game, and anytime we get involved in pushing and shoving, we seem to come out on the short end of it. And that is one thing that we have to really improve on. That's defending on the backboard, checking our man off, creating space, and not letting the bigger so-called bulk players, physical players in our league manhandle us on the inside.
Take a look at Stephen Brown getting to the hoop. He was frustrated most of this game, draws the foul. 3-point play here. We'll get to see this one again.
Well, Potter's a very physical player, and he takes it to you. He works hard. He gets after the inside game very, very aggressively, and he did hurt us on many rebounds, scoring on the inside. But all in all, it was their game from start to finish. Give them credit for that. But we made a good comeback. We got back in the game, and then when it came down to it, we just didn't have it at the end.
It was a 21-point lead at one point in the first half for Oregon. Kareem comes up with the final 5 points of the half, and you go into the intermission 46-30 within 16, and at that point, it's probably not looking too bad. Take a look at the first half statistics now for this game, and you see Oregon had the better shooting percentage. That really tailed off in the second half, but the rebounding numbers and the turnovers, those are 2 telling stats just about every game. Individually, Kareem had the good first half. Jerron involved, but Brent only the 2 points to go with those 3 fouls. So you can see how it started off. Jeff Potter also into it early for Oregon.
Well, Brent didn't get in the office mainly because of foul trouble, but Stephen Brown was 2 for 8 with 6 turnovers, and that certainly doesn't help your cause. But if it wasn't for Kareem in that first half, we'd have been down by a heck of a lot more. But turnovers, offensive backboards really came to bite us in the bad place.
Kareem will be with us later on, by the way. He's our feature player this week, and you can let the kids come back. Second half is a lot better. We'll show you second half highlights of the Oregon game when we return to the Jimmy Anderson Show. Score at halftime of the second Civil War matchup of the season was 46-30 in favor of the Oregon Ducks, and we'll pick up the second half action now from MacArthur Court. Stephen Brown was really hounded all day long by Daryl Parker, and the Ducks did a good job defending him. This week now, maybe you can take a little pressure off of Stephen, still be in the lineup, maybe doesn't bring the ball down.
Well, a lot of it's, depending on his play and how he gets himself going. Team concept is number one. Personal challenges on the floor come secondary. He has a lot of courage. He's a great competitor. But we need to get into our offense. We need structure, discipline, so that everybody on the floor can function as a unit. And if he can get us into it and still do the things he needs to do to compete, fine. Otherwise, we're going to move him down the floor and put one of the younger players to get our offense started.
Well, you see Kenya Wilkins driving there. This gave Oregon their second 21-point lead of the game at 60-39. And then OSU comes to life, Oregon forcing it a little bit, and all of a sudden this game turns around. A lot of opportunities here. Jelani Boleen will steal an inbounds pass, but as this game went, you had a lot of chances. This one doesn't quite go for two.
Well, that was a key hoop, too. We needed that. It's a little lay-in right there that we should have had. We seem to miss 3 or 4 key lay-ins during the game, and in key spots we give up boards. So we need to be a little more decisive in crunch time. Decisive periods, we need to actually be the ones that come out on top.
So Bobby Edwards there getting popped in the nose, a little headbutt action there underneath. Again, the game continues rough. Here's Jelani again, good for two. Here's a young freshman who really wants the ball, takes advantage of the opportunities. Brent Berry now playing hard. He's back in the game. Get the block shot from behind following the turnover.
Yeah, we got stripped there. We're supposed to be passing the ball out of the backcourt and trying to cut. Passing and cut is actually our best qualities of this team with the speed they have and passing skills. But we get caught up in dribbling games occasionally, and we end up with turnovers.
Stephen trying to make up for those turnovers in the first half, nails the three. Now he'll come down, drive and draw, three-point play, and now it's down to 64-53. We'll see this one again. Get a look as you get the spark out on the floor, and Stephen just takes this one all by himself.
Yeah, I think he was fouled several times going to the hoop there. 1 on the outside and 2 on the inside.
And that puts him at the line. He converts. It's getting closer now inside the 5-minute mark. Some long scoring droughts for Oregon. Kareem gets inside. Now it is 66-56. And once you get within 10 points in a game like this, anything can happen. Kareem will just miss a three-pointer. And then Potter comes down to the other end with a big follow-up. And again, there were little things there.
Right.
A 3 here, a 3 there, and it's very different in the end.
Well, we had Kareem's ball went in and kind of shook around and came out, and Brent Berry looked right down the barrel 2 or 3 times, and Oregon did a nice job, though. We put the pressure on, and they got a breakaway that really hurt us right in clutch time, but our players fought right down to the end. Oregon deserved to win this game. Now we're just anxious as the season goes to get to the third and final game.
Now you see in the final minute, there's a takeaway. Kareem is going to score. Now some good. Now the pressure defense starts taking over too. Brent will get in there. In fact, back-to-back times, you tie him up, force the jump ball. The first time the possession arrow's pointing the wrong way, so Oregon will inbound it, and you end up taking it away from them again. And here it comes on the inbounds. Force the jump, Bieber ball. Now this is with a 6-point lead, but again, you come down to the other end, and Brent, this is that 3 you were talking about with Brent.
Right.
Good opportunity, no cigar. And then the big play for Oregon in the final seconds, again against the pressure. They go long, and the basket against the press puts it away for the Ducks.
That was pretty much the whole story right there when it ended. A breakaway, a slam in our face, and a win for the Ducks.
And you can see the frustration on the faces of the bench. Shake hands with Jerry Green. And the final score, 74-64 in favor of the University of Oregon. So the Civil War series all even up at 1 apiece this year. Now the final numbers, you see how the shooting tailed off really for both teams throughout the game. And the rebounding numbers, a big difference, came back a little bit in the second half. And the turnovers, just a lot of turnovers by the time you add it up. But I know that's a number you never like to look at. Individually, Kareem, solid game, 26-9. Jerron Brown all over the boards, and he had a fight for it. Jeff Potter, outstanding for the Ducks. And Daryl Parker, I guess if you picked a player of the game, Daryl Parker was the guy who really set the tone.
Well, he's the one that set the tone defensively on our Stephen Brown, and right off the bat, that you could see that was going to be a crucial matchup right there.
Well, Kareem Anderson is going to be with us when we come back. The Jimmy Anderson Show continues. We'll also visit with Gary Payton. Well, if there's one player who's had the hot hand offensively for the Beavers of late, it is Kareem Anderson, the junior forward, coming from Merced, Central California. And boy, we're thinking about the earthquake this week, and I know it's not quite at home, but whenever you hear about that, you got to think of your hometown a little bit.
Yeah, it was a scary feeling. I just heard it was in Southern California, Merced, Central California, so I was fortunate that my family wasn't involved.
But you grew up with that, and you know what that's like when the ground shakes. I mean, I'm from San Francisco, and it's that same kind of thing. You think, well, no, not this time, not this time. But you think of those folks down there.
Yeah, I have my sister lives in Southern California, and I haven't had a chance to talk to her yet, but I hope she's doing all right.
It's good that
Sonny Benjamin and David Drake.
That's right. We get a few other guys who do have family there.
They certainly called their parents very quickly, and I'm sure Kareem asked him, did any damages come at your property, at your home, and they seem to get out without much problem.
That's good news, and of course, it's nice to have already made the trip down there too, gotten that out of the way for this year.
Right.
I think you recall, we were talking about this, the Pac-10 tournament a few years ago when they pulled the fire alarm in the hotel in the middle of the night in L.A., and that's always exciting to be. The adrenaline gets going when you wake up quick. Talk about your run of late. Last 7 games, you're well over 20 points a game, and this team has always needed you to shoot the ball and score the ball, and you seem to have that touch now on a regular basis.
Yeah, I've been just fortunate to hit my shots. Nothing different. I've just been taking my shots when they come to me, and they've been falling down for me.
You were part of that triumvirate that the coach always talks about with Stephen and Brant, and really every night you need to get out there and make something happen. I know it's a lot of pressure, but you three pretty much aware of that it is important for you all to produce?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. Try not to think about it too much. Just go out and play hard and just give them all every night.
Well, I'm very proud of Kareem because I think in the last, his first years, he was pretty much unidimensional. You know, everything depended upon his shot.
Right.
And so at this point in his career, he's become a complete player. And that's kind of the demand that we ask of him, and I think he enjoys being a rebounder and a defender, and he can make plays and get assists. He's one of our leading steal producers on defense. He usually draws one of the toughest offensive players on the opposition team, and because he's more physical than, say, Brent Berry and some of our other players, he has to go against 6'8" guys, 230, 235. And so you can't say enough about the improvement of Kareem, and he's getting better. He's talking and thinking fundamentals a little bit more, checking off the board and stuff like that, things that will really help us because we're small, we're not very physical, and we rely a lot on him. He's done an excellent job.
And Coach is going to reward you. You're going to guard Lamont Murray when Cal comes in here, probably the best player in the league right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough job. He's a great offensive player, and it's just going to be a real challenge for me to defend him.
He's got a few others before we meet Lamont, because a lot of players that he goes against either has size and physical strength. Kareem is really an off guard, maybe a small forward, and he has to defense the power forwards in our league. And so he's got his work cut out for us, but he's doing a good job.
Let's talk about the unity on this team right now. You seem to all really held together and out on the floor. There's still a lot of unity, even though his team's on a little bit of a losing streak.
Yeah, the unity's there. You know, we're a young team. The injuries have hurt us. But we're sticking together, and we know we have the talent to win, and we're going to make the best of the season. We're going to get some wins.
Well, thanks for being with us this week and continued success in your junior season.
Thanks.
Kareem Anderson. Now it's time to take a look back at one of the great names from Oregon State basketball history, a fairly recent graduate, Gary Payton. He's on his way to an all-star season with the Seattle Supersonics. He's playing the best defensive ball of his career. And when you think about defense, you have to think back to where he started out playing for Mr. Defense, Ralph Miller.
Playing for Ralph prepared me for all the defense I'm playing in the NBA. You know, I didn't have this in my first 2 years when I was playing in Seattle. Coach Carl came and he put it into our structure, and it's been a bigger plus for us because we get a lot of our points off of turnovers. And with me and Nate McMillan in there and Kendall Gill, we're doing a lot of things that's real, you know, positive for us. We're getting a lot of hands on a lot of balls, and we're getting a lot of steals, and we're getting a lot of transition baskets.
You know, George is not shy to yank someone out of the game. I mean, when that happens, you look over and expect to see Ralph sometimes?
Nah. I mean, Coach Miller and George is a lot different. I mean, Coach Miller, he'll scream at you, and you couldn't say nothing back to him. But Carl, I don't think he'll scream at you. He only does that when he's in the game and he's in the heat of the moment. But Coach Miller's a different person. He states his mind anywhere he's at. So, you know, it's a lot different.
You're having an all-star season this year, and but it looks like it's going to take your coach to get you in the game unless the voting turns around. That's nothing new for you, not to be popular in other arenas.
I wasn't expecting to be on there on the voting for anyway. You know, we ain't gonna never start. Sean Kemper's a star anyway, and he ain't gonna start neither. So it doesn't matter. You know, the coach is gonna have to vote you in anyway. So, you know, we ain't never on that level where we think that we was gonna get voted in there by the fans to start anyway. So it's like 7 or 8 more players got to get voted in because the first 5 is always gonna be the Stocktons and Karl Malone. So we're not worried about that. You know, if it happens, it happens. I mean, the coaches know who's playing well and what's going on. So if it happens, it just happens.
And I mean, you know that you and Nate and Sean, I mean, you're having great seasons right now, and you know it, and George knows it.
Well, it's just okay. I mean, our team is doing well. We should have at least 2 people on the team. Whoever make it off our team, we're happy for them. What we're trying to do is we're just trying to get, you know, ourselves to a championship and, you know, be happy with that. I mean, if we win a championship, All-Star, I don't care about it.
Well, if anyone deserves it this year, it's Gary Payton, who's made marked improvements. And I'll say this, Coach, here's a guy who's certainly benefited from the coaches he's played for. Ralph Miller, yourself, Casey Jones, who gently introduced him into the league, and now George Karl, who's kind of sharpened him into the lethal weapon he is.
Well, I think we all have a piece of him a little bit, but most credit goes to Gary. He's a very dedicated player. He's a very talented player. He loves the game, and when it comes time to play, he doesn't miss around. He takes a lot of pride in the way he plays.
Well, it's time to talk about the opposition for this week. Huskies and Cougars. We will preview the opposition when the Jimmy Anderson Show continues.
Cougars now have to take a shot. Seltzer does not get it. Haskin with the biggest rebound of the game. 1 second, it's over. It's over, and Oregon State with a stirring victory over Washington State, led by Scott Haskin with 13 rebounds, and that very, very big one a moment ago.
Well, a little home cooking for the Beavers this week as the Washington Huskies come into Gill Coliseum for the first home conference game of the season. That'll be Thursday night. Assistant coach Larry Harris joins us right now to talk about the Dogs. Whole new look this year. We got the new coach, Bob Bender. No more Prentice Perkins, no more Manning, no more Pope. Quinn Youngblood is back, although he's changed his name to Amir Rashad. New coach, he's keeping it pretty simple, isn't he?
That's exactly right, Bob. And the way he's doing that is he's gone to a motion offense. And what he tries to do is get the ball down in low by hitting the wing, then the point guard now screening away, having action going away from a post guy coming up, maybe hitting into him, and now trying to post 24 Woods in low and getting it in and scoring.
Here are the Huskies, 2-11 right now, but getting better all the way. That's been the story. Bob Bender, they're expecting big things out of him, and of course he's going through that transitional year in Seattle. The Cougars won the San Juan shootout and got off to a great start. They're 11-5 now in the season, 1-3. They almost beat UCLA last week. And let's take a look at them in action a little earlier this year against California. They got that backcourt, Hill and Harris, and now they got Dominic Ellison, three guards who love to shoot the three. Very active team, and this is Kelvin's kind of guys.
Very quick team with lots of depth, so they're very dangerous. A lot of lettermen from last year, good passers, good shooters, play with a lot of energy, and they're a team to reckon with. They're very disappointed in their 3-0-3 start, and they needed a big win, and when they beat USC by 30, I think that put them afire.
Eddie Hill, and there's a look at Hendrickson, of course. Don't forget him. He's kind of settled into being a role player, although he's averaging 10 points and 9 boards. Eddie Hill, though, has already taken 110 three-pointers this year. They will force you to come out and guard him. You can't fall back and guard the middle.
Well, that's one of the strengths of their offense is they got good three-point shooters, and then it opens up for their quickness of their big people. They're not massive big people inside, but they're quick and lithe and long arms, and they slice into the open holes, and so that gives them a double chance to score, outside, inside.
So an interesting challenge, and of course a thought or two about the Huskies now. They are coming along, and they've got the talent to score some points. They played well in the Bay Area. I thought that said a lot, but they had good games. They had a chance to win at Stanford.
Well, they play hard, and they're well organized. They have some good players. It's not like they're completely barefoot. Woods, their center, is 6'10". They have some active forwards. They got two young guards that look like their potential is going to be very solid for them. So with Youngblood, Rashad now giving them some physical strength on the inside and outside, they have some good talent. They'll be a tough team to beat.
Let's talk about the Pac-10 this week, and we'll take a look at the standings here. Got UCLA and Arizona coming up, and UCLA probably going to be ranked #1 in the country next week, although they probably need to beat Arizona, even though it's at home. That's a big early showdown.
Well, that earthquake is going to maybe take a little bit of the excitement away from that game in some people's mind, but I know for the Pac-10 race itself, that is going to be a super game. Playing at Pauley is an experience in itself. I predict UCLA will win it, but it'll be a dogfight.
Now, of course, they're going to go right back down to McHale. It'll be a whole other story.
Oh, for sure, and I have a feeling Arizona will start another one of those long streaks, the one that Cal busted up just a week ago. So with all the matchups coming, USC is tough at home, so they could sweep both Arizona schools. So it could go the other way, so who knows?
Let's talk a bit about the Black Coaches Association and the boycott that has been threatened and came close to becoming a reality this week. A variety of issues, but how do you see it right now? First, how does the coaching fraternity in general look at this?
Well, I think the coaching fraternity in general support the Black Coaches Association because it's issues of opportunity for their race, and I think that is the main thing that everybody is fighting for. So the one scholarship was just kind of like a little bit of the whole issue. And I'm hoping that the National Association, the coaches and the presidents look serious at their various problems that they face themselves uniquely to their opportunities for the black athletes and solve some of the problems, because this unrest and the uncertainty of boycotts and a feeling that there's a split someplace within the whole NCAA and the coaching and basketball is not good for basketball.
Indeed. We'll talk more about that next week, and we'll see you right back here next time on The Jimmy Anderson Show.
This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Akamian, and along with the coach, welcome to the Jimmy Anderson Show, your weekly look inside Oregon State University basketball. It was nice to be home this past week against the Washington Schools, and you get a split of 2 games with the Huskies and the Cougars, and now you're thinking of going down to the desert and the always tough trip against Arizona and Arizona State.
Well, first of all, we were hoping to get 2 this weekend, but it just didn't turn out that way. We had about 3 or 4 bad minutes of basketball, and Washington State capitalized very nicely on some of our weaknesses and our defensive pickup, and they hit some 3-point shots. We missed some layups, and the game was over pretty much. They got a commanding 16-point lead, and we could never recover.
Big change you made of a lineup this week was sending Stephen Brown down to a wing position and starting David Drakeford, rotating a couple of different point guards. Feel good about that change?
Well, our assist factor went up, and our turnovers went down, so on those 2 statistics alone, I think we were helped to some degree. However, now we have to get Stephen down there at the playmaking spot at the wing to be a little more aggressive and learn that position and have him be as assertive there as he was at the point.
Now let's take a look first at the Husky game from last Thursday night at Gill Coliseum. First victory of the season in conference, and of course you're welcoming a new face in, Bob Bender with the University of Washington. He's in a tough rebuilding process, but we said they're probably a little underrated with the athletes they have.
Well, I think they play very fine basketball. They work hard, they execute his system. They went down the next night and lost at the buzzer to Oregon, so they're playing everybody close. This was an overtime game, and they have some fine players. I think they're going to be some team to reckon with when they get all their recruits and get the system in.
That was Scott Didrikson driving for a layup, and they did get the ball inside. Sam Allen coming off the bench was 4 out of 7. And after you got a good start in this game, though, in those first 5 minutes, after a few bad weeks, you get ahead at the end of the first 5 minutes of the game. That's much better when you've been starting.
Well, it probably might be the first or second game that we got a good start, because normally we get behind and then we fight back, and we either do it or don't do it right at the tail end of the game. So we certainly do play games that are mysterious at times, but this game we did get a good start, and we pretty much maintained it throughout the whole game.
Huskies coming back to tie it there at 22-all late in the first half. And then Brent Berry getting into the act with the assist to Jerron Brown. We're going to talk with JB a little later on. He has a nice weekend, 2 good games.
Well, he's getting smarter all the time. He's a young man that listens very well. He works hard. And because of that, he seems to be getting better all the time. And I think that's the magic formula. Listen, learn, work hard, and you'll get better.
33-31 was the score at halftime. Beavers with a 2-point lead. Get into second half action now. Brent Berry again finding Kareem Anderson this time. Huskies, though, make a little run here early in the second half and get the lead as they take advantage of a couple turnovers.
Well, good defensive plays a lot of times will turn your offense on, and this is exactly what happened in this case. In fact, that's the big danger we are facing this weekend down at Arizona Schools, because both of them are excellent defensive teams, and if you make mistakes, here's a defensive play on our side where Brent goes down and capitalize on a good defensive play.
And look at it here. This is play of the year so far, at least for the highlight reel. You watch Brent step out, get the steal, and then a big-time move to the hoop.
Well, his big forte is actually off-ball defense and helping and sagging and flicking passes away. Once we get him to play better ball coverage, and that's what he really needs to work on, he'll be a complete defensive player.
And that's definitely a da-da-dun, da-da-dun move for him. Stephen Brown gets inside. Now another assist for Brent, and you get within 2, and now a big basket here, and it's the walk-on, Tony Rockland from Stephen.
Well, it was a nice pass from Stephen, a little chancy, but he saw him, and he just hit it right over his back, right in there. That's a beautiful play. It's about the only pass he had, and if it's a little fancy, but it's the only pass you got, there's nothing wrong with that.
And now Brent will put you ahead with, again, a turnover, off the turnover, gets it back, lays it in. You're up 1.
Well, that was good hustle on our behalf. Sometimes you don't make those lanes, and you better have a swarm of people coming in behind.
Jerron Brown's going to get a block shot here as the Huskies try to follow it up. But late in the game, they get a couple baskets. In fact, they get ahead in the game. You're down 4 points in the last 2 minutes here, and they need to make a couple of big plays.
Well, here again, quick transition on turnovers. And that's one of the hardest things to get under control is when you turn the ball over and they come at you quickly.
Rockland gets the follow-up here for 2. Brent Berry hits a couple of free throws. Then you get down to the final seconds of regulation. This is scary time. They get 3 chances to win the game.
Well, we weren't going to be denied, and I know they were begging for a foul, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah, Bob wants the call there. They don't get it, and you go to overtime, and you take charge in the overtime, never trail on the way to victory.
Well, Drakeford had a wonderful game. He shot the ball extremely well, especially early, and our 2 freshmen probably were the real heroes in this game.
Jerron Brown and David Drakeford both have the big nights. Brent Berry gets to the hoop, and it is over 75-71. The Beavers put away the Washington Huskies, who remain winless on the season. A couple of close games down in the Valley, but Bob Bender's still looking for that first victory. 75-71 in OT, the final. Some clutch play. Here are the final numbers for the game. And the rebounding, I know, still not what you want to see, but you get the turnovers, force them into 6 more turnovers, and individually, again, the freshmen come through. Jerron has 22 points, and David Drakeford a big 17. Booker led the Dogs with 15 points. And that's something you always like to see, some freshmen come in there and take charge when they're needed.
Well, it's that time of the year where they can't play like freshmen anymore. They have to use the experience of the time they've already played, and now it's time for them to perform at a higher level, and that's exactly what both of them are doing.
And you got to, like David especially, get responding to that start right away. He hits the big shots.
Well, he hit the big shots, and he got us into our offense, and Jerron was a force inside and rebounding for us and scoring, so the whole situation seemed to be turning around.
Well, that's the Thursday game. Now it's time to take a look at Saturday's game. When we come back, the exciting Washington State Cougars came to visit Gill. The Jimmy Anderson Show will continue.